Hey, and it works.
Yes.
All right, much better. All right, so with that said, we will get started here, and it works. Or if you are joining us, this is this is a miracle of modern technology, um, and we are getting ready to start the next episode of the Reds Disciples podcast. And this is a podcast that is a companion podcast that goes with the Reds Disciples Facebook group. And this is a Facebook community with this podcast that is for Celtics fans and by Celtics fans. And today we are just going to recap or review the first two games of the Vegas Summer League, along with the most recent Celtics um, acquisition of Dennis Schroeder and what he brings to the team. But with me for the second week in a row, thankfully, is Billy Calabrese. And Billy, I never checked with you last time. I hope I'm saying it the right way. If I'm getting that name correct right this time.
Dude, money. I've heard breezy. I've heard breeze. We're Italian. We're cool either way. Whatever works. You want to put a little flair on it, you could do breezy. If you want to just say breeze like a cool breeze, that works too.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So excellent. Either way, we're glad to have you aboard, especially so because you were actually at the Vegas Summer League these last 2 days. And so you have been fortunate enough to be in the building as we're watching our young guys. And I definitely I'm happy to have you back here to give us a little bit of the sights and sounds of what you saw. So Billy, with that in mind, tell me what did you see? What did you hear? Overall and just in general, what is Summer League like?
Summer League is like, oh man, the vibes are just immaculate. It is so much fun. You got pros, like I'm sitting behind Trae Young, Cam Johnson, all these like players just watching their teammates, their new teammates play. It's just such a cool vibe. Like you're walking to the concession stand and you bump into like John Hollinger. Like it is so odd and crazy and
Wow.
fun. It's just like a small world. And don't worry, I did harass John Hollinger with some cap questions, so we.
Perfect. Perfect.
But yeah,
Um,
really interesting. Like it's just such a cool vibe because it's kind of a free for all. Everybody's just kind of respectful. Nobody gets in each other's personal space. Everybody just kind of has a great time.
that's cool. And like you said, the tickets weren't really that uh, that damaging as far as cost.
No, it comes to about $60, and that means you have an all-day pass. So there's 8 games a day, and it's 2 gyms that are connected. There's a small gym
Right.
called Cox Pavilion.
Cox
That's like
Pavilion, the other's the Thomas and Mack.
Thomas and Mack, which holds about 17,000. So the Thomas and Mack is the big boy. If you're playing in the big gym, there's something going on. It's fun.
Right. That's what the Thomas and Mack, that's where the running Rebs play.
Yes, the good old UNLV running Rebels. They do have a national championship. They beat Duke.
Right, right. I love that team.
Oh yeah,
Love that team. LJ,
Greg.
Anderson, Hunt, Greg Anthony, BC
Stacey Augmon.
Auburn.
Yes.
Great team. Mm. Do you tell me it did when that was going on, were there a lot of people who would walk around with wet towels sucking on them?
Yes. For those that don't know, Jerry Tarkanian was famous for biting a towel during a game, probably to keep from cursing, because the man was a maniac. He was the best. He was like Bobby Knight, but beloved. I mean, he had so much energy. He was so riled up, and he would bite on the towels. Tark the Shark.
Dark the Shark. Yep, yep, I remember that. I heard it was always because he was like, I don't want to get up and go get a drink, so I'm just gonna suck the marrow out of this towel
That is
instead.
one of those urban legends, but considering how he talked, I don't know. I think it was probably to, control himself so he didn't get another technical.
That's perfect. That's perfect. All right, so we have had two summer league games thus far. We had one on Sunday that was an afternoon game at 4, and then obviously we had the one yesterday. Last week, the poll of the week that I dropped on the Facebook site was who would be the star of summer leagues, and so obviously summer league hasn't been completed yet. We've had just 2 of the 5 games, but I remember I chose Romeo,
Hmm.
thinking that a player with ball skills and driving ability, like I felt like those skill sets lend themselves to this kind of setting. Usually, was my thinking. Most people, there were, let's see here, and I'm going to check um, my voting. There was overall, let's see, 35 votes. 18 out of 35 people chose Peyton Pritchard. And right now, those people, that's looking like a good vote.
Yeah, that's probably the right choice. He's leading the summer league in 3-pointers made. He's leading the summer league in assists, and he's just looked like a man among boys both games.
He really has. I kind of played myself with my Romeo pick, although we had the great dunk last night.
Oh,
But
that's not fair to say that, because I mean Romeo hit the game winner in the first game,
that is true. He did.
and he had the moment where everybody got out of their seats, that dunk in the second game that you mentioned. So he's having a good summer league, much better than we've seen in recent years. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, as far as the first summer league game goes, that was and obviously scores don't matter with this thing. What do you feel like summer league is for? Would if in your mind's eye as a coach, what do you go to summer league to accomplish?
You're not looking at shot percentage. You're not looking at, who won, who lost. You're looking at who belongs. Because the problem with summer league, and the way I've heard it described to me, is you have 3 guys trying to play the right way, and the other 7 are just trying to stay out of China. They're just trying to stay in the league. So you do have some people kind of, going for themselves a little too much, but you just want to see that a guy belongs, that he can make an NBA play, not only on offense, but also on defense.
Absolutely. And when I look at summer league, one of the things that I'm looking for is who has translatable skills,
Yes.
or who makes plays that are translatable within the flow, within the context of what we do. For instance, your shot makers like Aaron Neesmith and Peyton Pritchard, are they making plays in somewhat in ways that you might see, I could see them making this kind of play off of the Jays. I can see this as a play where they might make that in transition, or a catch and shoot, or maybe a pump and go, or a backdoor cut, something like that. Something you could see like, I see that. That looks like something I would see.
Well, the Neesmith is a great example of that, because on Sunday, he shot terrible, 1 for 7 from 3, but they were all good shots. Now, if you notice yesterday, he shot those same shots, but they were going in, and he looked like the best player on the court. So he's
right. And that, to a credit, he said in the interview afterwards, that was, he practices his same routine. And all shooters, all great shooters have a routine that that usually they stick to very religiously. And so, and they take a lot of pride in that routine, whatever it happens to be. And so he stuck with it, and he said, I'm just gonna go out and do the same thing. And shooters are confident, and they do that. One thing I heard on another pod that I think is also appropriate when you're watching summer league is it's also a place where guys are trying things. Maybe sometimes they're just trying things that are, they're working on something. Maybe they're working on a specific skill that they want to get better, that they feel will be usable in the year. So much like in spring training for baseball, you might see a pitcher just throw fastballs one inning and nothing else because they're trying to just get the feel of that pitch, or something like that. You might see guys say, you know what, this particular game, I'm just going to try and as much as possible work on going off the dribble, or maybe I'll just put up shots, work on my catch and shoot game. And even though I might normally try to drive it, I might just do that to work on it. Now, the challenge is sometimes when you're looking at that is, how do you know what you're seeing when you're watching this is, and I think that's sometimes where, you hope interviewing the guys afterwards, or getting a feel for what they're doing through interviews or coaching in general, that hope the coaches know, assume the coaches know and say, yeah, this person, like you said, they may not have shot well, but that's okay because they're working on X,
Yes.
or Y.
No, Summer League's famous for fool's gold, so you'll see a lot of that. You could see.
Yes, fool's gold, overreactions. Carson Edwards putting up 30 against Cleveland, which was great to watch, but his ability to shoot has not translated against NBA defenders.
No, it has not. But he has had a nice summer league. I will give him that. He's been consistently scoring, and the assists are up, which is, even though he does get into that tunnel vision, which drives us all nuts, his assists are up. And besides Pritchard, he's second on the team in assists. So I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so you just look for those things. I think wherever you can get them.
Yes.
When you can get them. But yeah, I'd say as far as these two games go, has there been a best player for you and or a surprise for you?
My best player has been Peyton Pritchard. I don't think it's really a surprise. This is a 4-year college guy. This is just a pro. He really shouldn't be playing. Let's be honest. My surprise is probably going to surprise a lot of people. No pun intended. Is Bruno Fernando.
You stole my pick. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's because I had to watch Zach August the whole first game, and that guy can't catch a pass or do anything. And it's just such a relief to just have a big man there that's competent. But his size is intimidating. And then I'm watching him in warmups. I got a video of him banging, 5, 6, 7 corner threes in a row. I'm like, oh, he could do this too. Very, very interesting.
I thought he shot a little bit at Maryland. As well, not a lot, but I thought he shot a little bit. I thought he shot from the perimeter a little bit at Maryland too.
Right.
So I wasn't completely caught off guard, but I know he didn't do that really much in Atlanta in the short time he was there. But yeah, my star, and I guess the best player really has been Pritchard. But I'll take in this case the other guy, Nesmith, just because I love the consistency and the approach to the game he has right now, and the confidence that gives him. And I expect by the time he hits the season, he's going to be like, I expect to hit, I expect to make every shot. Like, he's not going to be a deer in headlights. Like, he's going to walk in, he's going to be like, I know what I'm doing and I'm going to make shots. And that I think could be really, really important. I think he may be in line to have um, potentially a breakout year, depending on what Udoka does with him and does with our lineups, that there could be some. I don't know. I'm not, it's way early, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But his ability to shoot, and yesterday was his quick release was almost Clay-esque.
Yeah.
Almost Clay-esque. Um, and if he can become like even half quarter of that with the Jays, like they've really got something that a guy who could play next to them and be reliable and make shots and be outlets.
Floor. Yep. Exactly.
Like I was really impressed by him. And yeah, Fernando, those two plays off the dribble, off the short roll, he looked extremely comfortable in the short roll there, taking it confidently to the rim. Obviously made that nice and correct dump to Romeo for
Yes.
that jam. That was the correct play to the cutter there, and I loved his reaction coming back down the court off that. He was hyped, which was spectacular. He was super hyped.
The crowd just erupted. I mean, you had like Grant Williams, Udoka, Brad, Danny Ainge, Austin Ainge, all in the same row, and they just went absolutely nuts. Oh, it was so fun.
That's awesome.
It's also
awesome.
Thing that Danny was sitting with them. I don't know what the story is on that. Danny Ainge was sitting there in a a collared Celtics shirt, and he sat with them the whole game. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I caught a picture of that as well, where with I guess that was one of his sons, and then Brad and Ime on the other side. So yeah, I mean, I don't know at this point how much he has to do with it, but obviously, it's still
a good relationship at least.
Yeah, it's still a relationship. What do you think? I mean, and we talked about this, I think, a little bit, and maybe even in the group. I don't know if we talked about this last week. I don't remember, but how some of Brad's moves we thought when Brad got this job, we'd find out, all right, how much does he like Brad's moves versus not Brad's moves, or how much is he's like, oh, screw these moves. Like, Danny was bullshit. I didn't like him, or I wanted him, like bringing Cantor back, bringing Al back, There was for a while a talk that it was just going to be a collection of Brad Stevens All-Stars coming back to the team. But like my thought was like, do you have an opinion one way? Do you think that that what we've seen this off season gives any indication one way or another whether he felt some way about one or two of the moves or a number?
He leaves on that. I think that he did not like the Thompson signing and he did not like the Kemba signing. I don't think he would have preferred to have either of them. He would have rather have kept Al. He maybe even would have rather have kept Cantor to bring Cantor back so quick. You got to kind of read into that. I do think they think more alike than they don't in general, because a lot of these moves since then are kind of like Danny Ainge light moves. You know what I mean? They're kind of the Josh Richardson for the TP, just the crafty stuff like that. I do think kind of like has like Danny Ainge fingerprints all over it. But I do think when they disagree, it's over big disagreements like the Kemba or the Thompson type deals.
What would you have done then? Because I remember that. I remember I remember having to a little bit talk myself into it because I was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. And we didn't really see that coming. And the guy I was thinking about at the time was I was waiting to see if they were going to if they were going to take a look at Rubio for whatever reason.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Because Rubio had expressed some interest maybe in seeing what Boston was going to do after Kemba left. There was a quote of him saying something like, I, I may be interested in seeing what Boston is going to do. And I remember there were people like, oh, maybe we'll try for Rubio at that time. But once, the Kemba talk started, and I agree. I felt that was a panic.
It was. It
Yeah, it
was.
felt like a panic move. I mean, and I get it. He had just finished one. He had just torched us you remember that game? He torched Kyrie for like 43 in that comeback. That was a maddening game. And he was third team All NBA that year. And he hadn't been injured that much.
A part might have been opportunity as well, because Rozier was leaving no matter what. I mean, he could have been promised a starting job. He was still walking out the door. He just had enough, which is fine. I mean, I get it. He felt slighted, whatever.
Right, the ESPN car wash.
Yeah, he didn't fit right with the Jays anyway, but we can get into that another time. But if he was leaving anyway, he wanted to go to Charlotte. Hey, getting Kemba back seemed like a fair return. Actually seemed like a steal. So
yeah. And it just I don't know, it didn't it obviously it never worked out the way it was intended to work, I think. Which is a shame. I like Kemba. Obviously, who doesn't love Kemba?
he's so likable. I do think a
Right.
part though was the Jays kind of developed a little quicker than they expected. This was going to
Yeah.
be Kemba, and then the Jays were like, "No, you're third option." Rightfully so, but man, for a couple 22, 23-year-olds to just push an all NBA player out of the way like that, you don't see
Yeah,
that often.
absolutely. So we've got 3 more games left. Um, I'm a little bit with you. Like I feel kind of as far as Peyton goes, like I'm not sure how much more we can learn about Peyton in this setting
Yeah.
now. And I think it's okay if he continues to work out with the team and then afterwards is done and goes to camp. Um, I don't know how much new, unless you were to say, I don't want you, don't worry about playmaking. I want you to just put you on the best offensive guy the other team has and then see if you can defend him. But
Else.
I mean, I suppose you could do that, but I mean, he's got his confidence is sky high right now. I like that. And part of me also feels like, you know what? You got it good. We can give Madar more time.
Yes, exactly. And that's somebody that kind of is going to need it, because him switching from the little gym to the big gym, I don't know if it was deer in the headlights or what, or maybe he just didn't have as favorable as a matchup, because in the first game he was against Reef Cooper, who he's actually much bigger than. And Denver has all these guards that are just as big as Yam or even bigger. And man, did he struggle. That second.
Yeah, they, I felt like he got swallowed up by Wingspan.
Yeah.
A bit. And so, yeah, so the, kind of hit the brakes a little bit on the Madar hype train. That's okay. But I hope, for these remaining 3 games that he has a chance to show a little something more. As for Romeo, I'd like to see Romeo just a little bit more aggressive. I felt like at times he'd get pushed off his line.
Yep.
And by that I mean line to the rim. I'd like to see him, just I don't know, just a little bit more in attack mode.
I'm really liking the 3-point shot. I'm starting to become a believer that he actually can make that shot consistently.
That I agree with. The paddle, the Joe Mazzulla paddle worked. His shot is absolutely coming around. I think it wouldn't be before long where that would be at least consistent enough to be like, okay, he can hit at least league average.
Yeah.
And I'd feel comfortable with that.
And man, defensively, he just brings
and he does defend.
God.
He does defend. It's just the rest of the game. After that, he was an offensive hub in high school and in college. And I don't know if he'll ever make it as that here in this league.
Oh, you could argue the best finisher in college basketball. I mean, he was unbelievable until he got hurt.
Right.
But yeah, he's not going to be that kind of player.
Right. So when's our next game? Tomorrow?
Yeah, Thursday afternoon.
So,
well, afternoon for us, it might be a little more evening for y'all. I think it'll be like 7:00 your guys' time.
Yeah. That sounds right.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple players pulled. I don't think Pritchard needs to play. I wouldn't be
no. I don't know that he does either. I don't know that he needs to play either anymore. I think that he played extremely well. I thought 12 assists, 1 turnover.
Yeah, that was something else.
Yeah, 12 assists, just one turnover. I thought he, was able to. I thought he was able to take guys off the dribble a little bit, but I also thought he was able to kind of move guys around. He spotted his hot shooters all the time. Anywhere that Neesmith was streaking, was coming down a wing, this guy found him. He fed the hot hand. It was great stuff to see as someone running the offense and being a sense of calm out there. What do you think he can be a starting point guard in this league? Or I feel like he's got a high floor, but I don't know about his ceiling.
Yeah. I mean, there's 30 teams. He can start somewhere, but you're not going very far unless you have just him in like the Mario Chalmers role in Miami, where it's like, yeah, Mario Chalmers was a starting point guard for a championship team, but was he really?
Right.
But he's great. He's going to have a 10-year career coming off the bench. He's going to be the backup point guard that everybody wants. It's like you're playing 2K and you create a backup point guard. That's exactly how you would do it. Got some size. He has the speed. He's deceivingly fast. And he has the IQ. He can run an offense. Doesn't hurt. He puts up from the logo either from 3.
No, it does.
Ones.
Absolutely, it does not hurt that you. So Celtics just before the game made a new addition to our roster. I added another point guard. They added Dennis Schroeder, who was this year's annual I played myself on this year's I played myself team.
Bet on yourself.
The big contract, 84, 4 for 84, because he, I guess, wanted 120.
Yeah.
is what I heard. And he got an $84 million offer, said, no, I'm gonna try my deal in free agency. But um, yeah, once Chicago went with Ball, uh, there was just there weren't a lot of options left for people who were going to spend big money on point guards. And um, he ended up settling for the taxpayer mid-level 5.9 for 1 year as a prove it year on a bridge team, Celtics. But I mean, he'll get chance, he'll get minutes, he'll get an opportunity to play in the playoffs and rebuild his value. Next year, teams should have a bit more money. Um, what are your thoughts on adding Schroeder to this team?
Well, he hates all the right people. He hates Kyrie and he hates the Lakers. So he's already good in my book. Um, I do like that they started off telling him, you're coming here to play backup point guard. You're not the starter. We're not promising you any starting position. You come here, you're going to be like you're in OKC. You were almost the sixth man of the year. You were awesome off the bench. You destroyed second units. This is how you're going to build up your value. The other thing is, I don't know if he's on the team in February.
Mm. I wondered if honestly if getting him could end up being a precursor to a move at the deadline.
Yes.
One way or another. The addition of him to the team certainly gives Brad an additional layer of flexibility at the deadline for things he could do, whether it be with him or with another player. And I don't know, at worst, if Smart plays well, and let's say, hypothetically, Peyton Pritchard shows that he's like, we need to get this kid more time, more shots, more run, because every time we put him in, he's bringing energy and shot making and all that. Then maybe you feel like, you know what? Some team wants him, give us a pick for it, or combine him with something else, make a deal. Like, yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. Billy, he may not be here the entire year.
Well, I just think it's like the old Danny Ainge playbook. You get a guy at his lowest value, you build him up, and you sell him for something. That's how we started accumulating assets way back in 2013. We'd get like your Jordan Crawford or your littlest speck of an NBA player, and you build it up into something bigger, and you build it up into you keep rolling that ball downhill, and it keeps growing and growing. I really think a contender, especially if there's an injury, they're going to give up something pretty decent for a starting caliber point guard making $5 million a year.
Yeah. Now that doesn't give. You don't get bird rights with a 1-year deal.
No, that's the other reason, because we can't re-sign him.
Right. So it adds more to that possibility that he could possibly end up getting moved later, because we know we're not going to be able to keep him if we continue with the plan and the course that Brad Stevens has us on.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of a weird fit depending on who he plays with. Like, I feel like him and Smart, I'd want to see how Udoka fits this group together. I feel like the fit could be a little bit weird, only like as two guys, really four, who are going to need the ball a certain amount. But they're going to defend. I think he'll defend. He's quick. He's a great penetrating guard. Like you said, he's feisty. He'll get in people's faces, without a problem. You hope Al can kind of be the glue for everybody here. He is, Papa Smurf role. basically, and kind of put this group together. But yeah, it should be interesting.
I mean, if you
Yeah, that works.
out there with Schroeder and Horford and one of the kids, whether it be Neesmith, whether it be whoever else you want to shoot for shooting, that's pretty scrappy. I mean, that's not throwing Semi Ojeleye and all these other guys out there. It's a
No, it's not. No, it's not. I do like, Brad's goal this offseason was to get older, get more experienced, get some veterans for our team. I've heard some describe this as an off-season saving move. I do not subscribe to that theory.
No.
That this saved the offseason. I get why they make the comment, but I felt like I've been very pleased with with the offseason that Brad had. To me, the goal of this offseason was to try and, maybe carve out some space because we were right up against the cap. So to me, the first move of just simply getting off Kemba's contract and not only getting off Kemba's contract, but bringing back what I feel is an extremely useful veteran.
Yep.
For your team, a guy who potentially has the ability to close games for you. In Al Horford, not only do you save money in the deal, but you subtract Kemba's defense and his penchant for being picked on.
Yep, targeted.
And you replace that with a floor spacer stretch big who knows how to quarterback your defense. Like to me, there is so much addition in that in this trade. Like Brad had me at that point. Like to me, that I was like, I don't know if I said it was an A+ after that for the offseason after that move, but I was like, thank you, because that, like, we had nothing while we were handcuffed by Kemba's contract, his inability to play back-to-back games, any of that. I wonder, like, I have no idea how Kemba's knee is going to hold up to Tibbs's playing schedule.
Oh man, the way he's players into the ground. I mean, poor Ben Gordon, Luol Deng, Derrick Rose, even though Derrick been able to salvage it a little bit. I mean, heavy minutes, tough minutes, because you don't stop. When you play for Tibbs, man, you're 110% or you're sitting down. So it's going to be tough.
Randall played I think Randall was one of the top 5 in minutes last year.
Oh, yeah. Tibbs will always
play the ton on that.
Yep.
So I have no idea how that's going to work. I saw their little hype video for getting Kemba there, and I'm so glad Kemba is in New York. I mean, that was, other than OKC, that was maybe the only spot I could see him even going. So I'm happy for him. Their team has a nice fit to it, and we discussed this last week. I just don't know, one, how that team is going to defend, and how that's going to work. But for more on that, that's what we discussed last week. So if you're watching this, you can look at last week's pod as we get a little further into that. So with that in mind, I just wanted to kind of touch on my choice for post of the week. And by the way, you may do this too if you're in your future, if you come on, if you post
well, I'm going to say it to you.
Interesting. But the one I chose this week was a post from Chris Van on August 8th. And that I thought was kind of relevant to this conversation. So is it Beal or bust for 2022? Billy, is it Beal or bust? Is that what you say?
Bust is a little harsh because you still have max cap space with like 3 or 4 all NBA caliber players available. Like if you get Levine instead of Beal, are you really crying home? No, but
Mhm.
the plan is Beal. They're not hiding it. He's coming. I mean, God forbid, unless some kind of crazy injury or something happens to him during this weird season that we got coming up where he's playing with like Dimwitty and Kuzma and whatever else is on that roster.
Mhm.
It's Beal. But let's say something happens, he flakes, him and Tatum get in a fight, whatever. We still have max cap space. How is that a bad thing, considering we were just in cap hell 3 months ago?
Exactly. I agree more. The guy I like, who I've mentioned before, and I will continue to mention him everywhere I go, is I'm such a big fan of Christian Wood
Yeah.
down in Houston. He's only making 13 a year right now for the next 2 years. He'll be up not next season, but the one after that, where there's even more free agents that are going to be available. And I just look at him and I am like, if you could interest a player like him at that point, I know Danny was interested in
Danny
him.
wanted him in the first place, and
Yeah,
his
before he ended up in Houston.
short. Apparently, I mean, I've watched both games of Houston Summer League, and this Sengun, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He's from Turkey. He's
Right.
like a DeMonte Sabonis clone. He is phenomenal. He absolutely dominated last night. Like I'm watching him instead of watching Green and Cade go at it. And I'm like, this dude's making every play right on both ends of the court. So I think
KOC was huge on him before
yep.
before the year started too. And
He's real.
he was good. He was picked at the spot we had.
Our spot. Yep. That kind of hurt me in the heart a little bit. Because man, did I fell in love. Both games I watched him, I'm like, he just plays the game like a pro. He has the touch, he has the finesse, and then if he wants to bully you because he is big, he will just bulldoze over you.
Mhm.
It was really impressive. He was giving Luke Garza hell over on Detroit yesterday. It was really fun to watch.
How did Garza do?
Garza's had a very good summer league. Like he's hit some threes. He stretched the floor. He's lost 26 pounds.
I knew it. Yeah, he was a guy I was interested in.
I don't know how much you can actually play in the league because, like I said, he does get bullied on D and he is slow footed. But I mean, don't they have like a Zeller there starting at center? Like, yeah. So it's not great for Detroit. I was really unimpressed. I do like their backcourt though. Cade and Killian Hayes are very fun.
Yeah, and you've got obviously Jeremy Grant still. Um, so I don't know. It's something to work with if you can get all these guys to buy in and play well, and hopefully move forward a little bit. Um, Kelly's over there. Kelly Olynyk is.
Kelly will get some shots over there.
Yeah, he'll get some shots. So yeah, that'll be uh, interesting. But so I feel like kind of covered everything here. The only thing I had left is so now with the Schroeder move, we're now at 15 guaranteed contracts, one non-guaranteed in Parker, and uh, obviously the two-way that is Sam Hauser. Uh, for the rest of this time up until camp, do you see us making any more moves?
Yeah, but it's probably just going to be a little roster consolidation. Maybe Chris Dunn gets moved for basically
That's the one. That's
yeah.
the shoe I'm waiting to see drop. Is to see if they do find a spot to move him.
Because they still got to try to put Madar on the main roster because from what I understand from the rules, you can't buy out a guy overseas and give him a two-way. You have to give him a regular contract.
Okay. See, and to me, that we now have Schroeder, I feel like makes bringing him over even more difficult now.
Yeah.
Like to rationalize anyway. Um, if he's going to be behind not just Smart, not just Schroeder, but Pritchard's obviously picking up anything else that's left behind. And this kid still has 1 year left on his contract in Israel. Why bring him over? And I was thinking that, and I didn't even realize the rule you were telling me just now. I was thinking, one, why bring him over if only to send him up to Maine? But if you can't even do that,
that's where it gets tricky. Yeah. And I'm still waiting for clarification on that. That's just what I was told. But it does actually make sense because his buyout is more than what a G League two-way contract would be. So that actually kind of adds up if you start putting it together.
Yeah. I just think with we're tight on money now. We're about 6.6
into the tax
now. We're not quite yet at the apron, but
no.
we're below it, but we're into the tax a little bit. And so obviously we've got, if you're watching this and you're not familiar, we have until the end of the season to get out of the tax if we want. Tax doesn't hit us now. We pay the bill at the end of the season based on where we're at the end. That's how that works.
To a restaurant, you pay the bill at the end of the meal.
Yeah, exactly. Pay the bill at the end of the meal.
And then we'll pay Beal.
Right. I see what you did there. All right, but yeah, so I agree. I think it may be light moves. We'll see if they move Carson.
Yeah. He's played well enough. I mean, you could probably get something for him. Late second round pick or something.
Maybe, yeah. I hope the kid catches on and does well somewhere else. And, he's trying. I just don't think it fits here. And I think Peyton does more of what we wanted Carson to be able to do.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, are you going back to the games tomorrow?
I'm considering it. I got to wait and see if they pull anybody. But if we keep playing, I'm definitely going to try to attend a couple more. But
Okay.
this is kind of the time where it starts to fizzle out. So I'm like, it really depends.
The last game is going to be not. It is for sure going to be probably not worth it. But it's possible you may get one more game of interest.
Yes, and that's what I'm kind of hoping. And it kind of stinks because we don't really, our schedule, we're not really playing like the Detroits or like any of like the guys you really want to see us go against. So like Denver yesterday, like playing against Bull, it's just a circus show. Like it reminds me so much of Taco, and it makes me so glad Taco's gone because he'll put up numbers. It doesn't impact the game at all. It's really tough. And Neesmith was smart. They targeted Bull on defense every time. And a lot of those threes were because Bull couldn't switch.
Oh, don't get me started on Taco. It hurts my heart. I know y'all, if you're watching this, you're like, Taco sucked, Taco this, that. Glad he's gone. He's not a real NBA player. You know what? Screw you. You don't know Taco.
He got a lot further than anybody expected for a guy that didn't pick up a basketball like 5 years ago. You know what? He made it. He did all right.
Did all right. Taco's a good dude, man.
Fuck yeah, he is.
I miss the hell out of him. But all right, I think we kind of covered everything here. Glad to have you on again, Billy.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll show check in maybe next Tuesday and see how things are going again with the next one. And then after that, we'll be kind of maybe we'll we'll still check in. I'll still check in weekly with this, but it'll probably start to slow down a little bit unless we hear of any trades worth note, at least until camp begins, which I think is probably going to be beginning of October?
Yeah. Should be late September. Yeah.
Late September. Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. But otherwise, if you've still been watching this whole time and haven't turned this off, thank you
Thank you.
very much. You've done yourself a service. And definitely please come engage in our community. Civil discourse is what we're about here. You know, everyone loves to cheer the team, and that's great. But we're Celtics nerds. We enjoy the Celtics porn, which means occasionally getting into the minutia, into the weeds, into the money, into the why, just to get a little bit, just because really we have no life and we have really
much fun.
nothing else to do. But anyway, still come and be a part. But with that said, Billy, any final words?
No, thank you for having me. And I guess I don't want to leave everybody hanging. I did say I had a John Hollinger tidbit. My John Hollinger tidbit was I had to harass him and ask him this question. I guess there's some Lauri Markkanen buzz right now. The Celtics may be interested, quotation marks. If he takes the qualifying offer, that's the 9-point-something million, he will be eligible for us to use the TPE on, but he will have a no trade clause, so he could veto it. So I didn't know you could trade a player on a qualifying offer because a 1-year deal acts as a no trade, but they could always veto it. So I thought that was good information.
So wait, who can veto it? Meaning Markkanen could veto?
Yep.
Could veto the no trade?
Traded, yeah, exactly. Markkanen could be like, get me out of here. I'll accept a trade to the Celtics.
Oh, yeah, he's already basically been like, get me out of here.
So yeah, I thought cool because he fits right into that nice Tristan Thompson TPE, just for somebody to take a flyer on.
Yep, that would be one more asset that
you could flip.
You could throw in your deck of cards, a thing. And that's one of my things is I feel like, before we go, and we mentioned this before, that TPE for Thompson, that's going to get used somewhere.
Yes.
And we talk about using the threat of cap space as leverage to maybe facilitate a trade for Beal during the season.
Yeah. Beat up the process.
That to match the 33 or 35 million that Beal has, you're gonna need pieces. Well, right now, the Tristan Thompson exception is just a giant hole that needs to be filled with money. So if you can fill that with money, you can add that to other guys, especially if you can get a young guy like Markkanen, and you can maybe then roll him into a trade like that. Much the way you can roll in him and, obviously we mentioned Dennis Schroeder and maybe some other guys.
The other option would be when we gut this roster, if we have to go scorched earth to sign Beal, we're going to need to be able to sign guys, and having an almost $10 million TPE to get someone, it's going to come in pretty handy.
Absolutely. Well, actually, that was a question. We don't have to renounce that. And we don't have to renounce that TPE in order to pick up Beal.
It depends how we finagle the money. I think if we find like a way to dump Horford, and it's going to be some cap gymnastics for sure. But I would try to keep the TPE as opposed to a player, depending, of course. But that we'll have to see. Like if it's
we'll find out.
And Rob, I'm going to keep Rob. But
right. So we will find out more of this information as things unfurl. But everybody else, appreciate you joining in. Please leave a comment, subscribe, like if you're seeing this on YouTube. If you're joining on the Facebook community, don't forget to say hello. Tell us what your favorite part was. And that's about it. All right. Everybody have a great rest of your day.